call this meeting to order. Thank you so much for waiting. I apologize.
It was Sean's fault.
Yeah, we'll blame it all on Sean because he's not in the room.
He's retiring in 3 months. It's all good.
All right, this is an open meeting and has been noted as such. Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Would you join me for a moment of silence, please? All right, thank you. Do we have any citizens' comments? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start with Deborah. You can come up to the table. You have 3 minutes. We are not able to speak back to you. I think you've done this before, so you know the drill. Oh, you haven't. Okay. So you have 3 minutes to address us, just so you know we can listen, but we can't interact with you. So Craig over here is running the time for you. He'll give you a heads up, but the mic is yours. If you could speak into the microphone for us, please.
Okay, thank you for giving me the opportunity to address the board my concerns regarding the SABRE survey. I'm concerned with duplicity, CRT, CEL, SABRE, the past high school questionnaire, and even growth and development. Same programs, different names. I'm concerned children are being programmed, asking, are you happy, sad, anxious, etc., all normal human emotions. Majority of your student body have normal ebbs and flows with emotions. A minority do not. Yet all the students are included in the survey. Is this programming? I am concerned about the cost and time spent for this. Are school funds used? How much time will be spent compiling, discussing the information instead of being used for academic teaching? I'm concerned this is indoctrination. I suspect the students will be expected to accept as normal things that are biologically impossible. Heck, our society is pushing the same dogma. I am concerned this is data mining. Where does the information go? Is it downloaded into the program you purchased? Who sees this information? Does the information follow the student throughout their days in the Mukwonago school system? Are the parents involved in the results without having to ask? If this is so imperative, they should be. Maybe at conference time it could be brought up. Where are the plans for the results? What is the end goal? If you don't have an answer, you should.
1 minute, Barb.
You are not mental health care facility, and your teachers are not mental health care professionals. You have a dedicated and very caring teaching staff. Let them teach. Focus your attention on the basics. Leave the emotional care to the school psychologists, counselors, and social workers. Bring in community psychologists and professionals. I also urge you to continue addressing the golden rules. I see the signs in the schools. Please start enforcing the rules with discipline and consequences. I believe the students are running the school, not the adults. I saw the video of the 2 girls beating one, and you have, I'm told, a male bully in the high school that needs to be addressed. If you keep on doing this, you're going to go down that rabbit hole. Your enrollment will decrease, even with your 4K. Start taking control, or the teachers will leave also. Parents are looking for schools that have control and teach the basics. That is why they are turning to alternative options. SABRE is not going to help you control out-of-control students. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deborah. Okay, next I have Stephanie Neuenfield. I also have Jason Parnau. Okay. Yeah, okay, well, welcome. We're glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. Okay, and then we are going to step into our January presentations.
Okay, so the Math Olympiad students had to go home, and so we'll bring them back next month. And
Our apologies to them all.
Right, and I will apologize. I'll call them tomorrow.
What grade levels were they? I just was curious.
Grade 6
All right, cool.
at Big Bend. And then next would be our student rep report.
Okay.
All right. So at MHS this month, the Global Scholars Program hosted 18 students and 2 teachers from Costa Rica on January 25th. Few upper level Spanish students practiced their Spanish skills by giving a tour of the building to the visitors, and the Costa Ricans enjoyed a cultural lunch of brats, and they really enjoyed the overall experience, and they hope to return next year. This past Saturday, the MHS Choirs program put on their annual concert and fundraiser Night on Broadway. The event was attended by hundreds of supporters who cheered for students, participated in the silent auction and the 50-50 raffle, and enjoyed dinner provided by the Cornerstone Restaurant. They'd like to thank all those who donated and showed up, as the program raised over $4,000 more than what was expected. Last April, the MHS History Club Art Department choirs and orchestra worked together to commemorate the 77th anniversary of the liberation of the former Auschwitz-Birkenau camp. And because of this event, MHS, as of this year, received a Music for All Community Involvement Award. And this award represents MHS's continued demonstration of a commitment to establishing school music programs as integral parts of the community.
All right. Then at Clarendon, first grade students explored shadows during their investigation of light. A character named Willie the Gnome helped them with their adventures, teaching them about how distances and angles create distinct shadows, as well as how light behaves with transparent, translucent, and opaque objects. Happy retirement to Mr. Fred, and the students enjoyed watching him take one last ride on his Zamboni. Clarendon's first art show was a huge success, and it was a theme to commemorate things that are firsts. The Clarendon staff enjoyed showing off their new spiritware during the month of January, and some student artwork was displayed at the Waukesha County Courthouse.
At Section Elementary, on the evening of January 12th, the PAC held the 5th and 6th grade combined band, music, and orchestra concert, and an MHS ensemble performance welcomed guests, while the section students sang songs related to the theme of Hawaiian vacation, something we all kind of need in this winter. The program would like to thank Kathy Doty, Dale Weimer, and Caitlin Rian for their efforts to put this musical event together. And then on Friday, January 4th, section hosted the 5th and 6th grade spelling bee, where students earned a spot in the school spelling bee by competing and placing in their classroom bee. And then the winner of the section spelling bee was Braden, and he will be moving to the regional bee.
Eagleville kicked off its One Book, One School event this month. The students are reading One Plastic Bag, written by Wisconsin author Miranda Paul. The author visited and met with students, and the main character called students via Zoom from Gambia. Students had the opportunity to use Eagleville's new winter composter this month. The composter allows students to compost all winter long, as it regulates the temperature of compostable materials. This month in art club, students all brought in recyclable materials from home to have an art workshop. Students turned old materials into something new.
At Prairie View, they participated in a Clean Your Closet donation drive through St. Vincent Paul. Families were asked to donate clothes, stuffed animals, bedding, other household items. And one of the great things about the donation drive was that St. Vincent de Paul had partnered with Urban Air to create a contest with other Waukesha area schools and offered an incentive to the school with the largest amount of donations. And on Friday, January 27th, Prairie View students had an assembly, and members from St. Vincent de Paul came and awarded each student with a ticket to Urban Air. And there is a video linked if you'd like to watch some very excited elementary schoolers. Third grade students at Prairie View hosted a third grade biography wax museum. So while visiting the museum, guests were able to see famous individuals from the past and present come to life. And they learned about what these individuals were famous for, what lessons could be learned from them, and a lot of other really interesting information. Students were thrilled to dress up in character and invite families to share what they learned. And then finally, Prairie View students are participating in a readathon fundraiser in which they earn donations for minutes they spend reading. They're very excited that they've raised over $16,000 in the first week of their readathon, and students are working very hard to read books and earn donations for a new playground at Prairie View.
last Friday, 60 eighth grade band members joined the MHS Pep Band. It was a great experience for students and an incredible environment to cheer on a victory. January is Dude Be Nice month at Parkview. Students were asked to commit to being kind and a ray of sunshine to each other. They each created snowflakes that represent students' commitment to small acts of kindness. The Parkview staff invites parents and current 6th and 7th grade students to attend the 23-24 course information night on Thursday, February 2nd from 5:30 to 7:30.
And then finally, we have Rolling Hills Elementary. Winter activities at Rolling Hills are going really well. They're currently offering boys basketball, ski and snowboarding club, Girl Scouts and study club. Their Feed the Dream food drive in honor of MLK Day restocked the shelves of the Mukwonago food pantry. And lastly, they'd like to thank the high school and the Greenwald Performing Arts Center for allowing their 5th and 6th grade band, orchestra, and choir to perform there last week.
Okay, thank you.
Great job, guys.
Appreciate it.
Marsh McClellan had to go home.
They also had to go home. Sorry, everybody. All right, then I'm going to move on to consent agenda. I am looking for the approval of school board minutes of December 19th, 2022, as well as approval of vouchers number 139836 to 140224 in the amount of 3.3 million in change, and receipts for December 2022 totaling 7.9 million in change. Do I have any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, that is approved by consent. I am going to head right into our committee updates, and we'll start with Student Learning Committee.
At our meeting this month, we discussed further the 4K and how if that would be cost effective, and we had decided at that time to continue with our pilots, and the 4K meeting was last week.
The week before.
And registration opens on Wednesday?
7 o'clock Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning?
Yes.
And so by Friday, we should know where we're standing with that. We also talked about the Education and Teaching Academy, and that will be on our action items tonight.
Nope.
No?
Nope, that wasn't at the last meeting.
Okay, sorry. That was a new course proposal. That's going to be on the new course proposal in connection with that Teaching Academy is going to be on our action items. We also had the it says here, the Education and Teaching Academy meta presentation.
Nope, the other thing that we talked about was the ESSER funds connected with letters training.
Okay, well, 1 minute here because I maybe am like looking at the wrong minutes. Sorry.
Oh,
Give me
that's
a minute.
okay.
So we discussed, if I recall correctly, the 712 counseling pilot. We talked about 4K.
Yeah.
712
the ESSER
will be on
funds with the letter
action.
training.
We'll talk about
Just
that
a minute.
again
Just a
next
minute. I'm right here. Okay, so we looked at and we talked about the new course descriptions for 23-24, and we also talked about the math, the math interventionist.
Nope, we
with the
talked
ESSER funds?
we talked about ESSER funds and
Yeah.
went through, looked at through our letters training that we're doing as a district on the science of reading. We went through materials that we've been able to order for all kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade classrooms related to manipulatives for teaching early literacy through the science of reading.
That's it.
Okay, and then Personnel Committee.
Sean, do you have some retirements?
I do, and those are action items. So really,
Okay.
the two items that we talked about that are not action items at the Personnel Committee were the election updates.
Yep.
And then also we reviewed some policies and we recommended no changes. So,
You are correct, sir.
and just want to point out that the election, because there are only 2 people running for each seat, that there will not be a primary in February, and that Art Schneider, who has been on the school board for 15 years and made superintendents' lives miserable for 15 years, 2 of them, chosen not to run, but we do want to thank Art for his 15 years of outstanding service. And of course, if you know Art, he's done a tremendous amount for our schools outside of the school board as well. So thanks to Art. And then the East Region seat, Joel is the incumbent, and his opponent will be Gail Lesage. Central Region seat, Steve Waddles is the incumbent, and Crosby Bugenhagen is the opponent. And the at-large seat, 2 people running, Paul Eckert and Jake Hilgenthal.
Thank you. And then for our Finance and Facility Committee?
We did the outside audit, which is posted on the school's website if anybody wants to look at the audit. We reviewed the St. James lease, which is going to be renewed for another year. We talked about the Connection Consortium agreement with Muskego. Went through a few policy updates, and then 23-24 budget assumptions, and then also went through some 5-year budget projections with Tom.
All right, then we will go ahead and move into our action items, and we're going to get started with our appointments, resignations, and retirements.
And I have those, and so our appointments, we have one appointment tonight, and that's Tiffany Crabb, Mukwonago High School Business Education teacher. We do have a couple of resignations. Paige Recke, MHS Guidance Counselor, that's effective this week. And then also Sable Van Engel, Section 5th grade teacher, that's effective at the end of the year. And then we do have some retirements. Sherry Fairburn, MHS Math. Jim Essman, MHS Phi Ed teacher. Julie Schmidt, Big Bend Elementary School psychologist. Sandy Beckwith, Clarendon 4th grade teacher. Anita Nickerson, Clarendon 3rd grade teacher, and Kelly Heaton, section speech and language professional. And then, if I may, I do want to make sure we make a special thank you and a shout out to our retirees for their outstanding service. These are some really, really good teachers and coaches who will be missed in their schools. Sherry Fairburn has 33 years of service. Jim Essman, 30 years of service. Julie Schmidt, 36. Anita Nickerson, 18. Sandy Beckwith, 21. And Kelly Heaton, 7. So a lot of really good people who have been with us for a long time.
Absolutely, thanks to them. So I will make a motion that we approve these appointments, resignations, and retirements.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We'll move on to our Neola policy updates that came forward from Finance and Facility.
Oh, sure.
But you don't want to hear me talk tonight? All right, so we brought 3 policies for your consideration. They were, none are changing substantially. They're just slight modifications to reflect current times and current language. I'll stop with that. If you have any questions, I'll answer them.
I read through them. They're good.
Thanks, Craig.
Does anybody have any questions?
I make a motion, we approve them as corrected.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we will discuss open enrollment seats for 2023 and 24.
As you know, we have to inform potential open enrollment parents and the Department of Public Instruction how many open seats we have for open enrollment for the 23-24 school year. And so we are, if you take a look at the memo, the updated memo that I provided for this board meeting, we're actually going to do 4 motions, and we can use the language right in the memo. So the first one's for regular education open enrollment seats, and it's going to cover elementary and secondary. Do you want me to read the motion, or are you guys?
No.
I think that's what we were going
I'll go. I make a motion that for regular education open enrollment seats at the elementary level, that they will be capped at a school's average class size when it reaches 20 students for 4K, 22 students for 5K in first grade, 24 students for second and third grade, and 27 students for fourth, fifth, and sixth. There will no longer be regular education caps for grades 7 through 12. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions on this motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, first motion carries. Does anybody want to do the second one?
Nope.
Or I'll keep going. Okay, I'll make a motion for point 2 that there will be no open enrollment vacant seats in 4K through 12 special education programs, with the exception of 4 seats in the 9th through 12th grade cross-categorical program.
I'll second that.
Any questions or discussion on this one? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 3, I make a motion that the open enrollment acceptance will no longer be guaranteed for the 2023-24 school year for current resident students who move outside of the district.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion on this one? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Me, Cherry.
And 4th, I make a motion that open enrollment acceptance will not be guaranteed for siblings of currently open enrolled students.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to request to use Big Bend Elementary School as a voting site.
So we are going to meet with Brad Calder, village clerk for the Village of Vernon on Wednesday at Big Bend. They would like to use Big Bend for the upcoming primary on February 21st, and we're okay with that, but we do have students in school. So we have a few conditions that we'll be reviewing with them, but I'm hoping that the board will agree to as well. First, we have to find a suitable space within the school that meets the needs of the Vernon voters, but also meets the needs of our students and staff at Big Bend. And then second, that we develop a plan for suitable traffic, parking and traffic flow. You know, at certain times during the day, it will be very congested. And then finally, there has to be a suitable police presence at Big Bend Elementary, paid for by the Village of Vernon, to make sure our students and staff are safe, to keep the voters segregated from the students and the staff.
And who is defining suitable? Because if parking, I mean, I voted there, I know Carolyn, you voted there, Joel, I don't know, like, I don't know that there is an option for suitable parking and traffic flow available, so who's deciding that? And if there is nothing suitable, then what?
So, one, I believe that this is going to be a low turnout election, so I think this is a good practice run before the April 4th election, when they'll want to use our school again. Remember, on the really big high turnout elections, we don't have school, so for next year in April, for example. When we say suitable, obviously, there has to be parking for staff. And so they're going to have to designate places in the parking lot where staff can park and where voters can park. And then also, they're going to have to inform their voters, you might not want to come between 8:15 and 8:30 in the morning, because there's going to be a lot of congestion as parents drop off and bus drop off. Same thing at 3:30. A lot of congestion. So I'm confident that we can work that out with the Village of Vernon. If you guys have a better word than suitable, I'm all ears.
I was simply curious,
whatever
who's
works.
making that decision, us or Vernon, or it has to be agreed upon?
It has to be agreed upon. That's the best way to work with those municipality boards. You know, we've been able to work that out with the town of Mukwonago. And the first time that we had the election at Rolling Hills with the town of Mukwonago, there were a couple of things that we went back to the town and said, hey, we have to do this differently. And so I think because of that experience at Rolling Hills, we'll be able to mimic that at Big Bend. But there's some challenges.
Maybe agreed upon is better than suitable.
When's that meeting taking place with Sean?
Wednesday, we don't have a specific time, but it's going to be between noon and 2.
Can I come?
Let's talk about that later. Let's worry about
would-
whether or not
No
we
I
have a
would-
motion on the table. to
I
approve.
I think
in general, it's best for the administration to work those things out, because Carolyn, if you come, then I'm assuming that other board members are going to want to come, and then we have a challenge with trying to make a decision with 9 or 10 people instead of just
Well, and that
2 or 3.
violates open meetings, so we're not going to do that.
Okay, I would just want to question about school safety inside the school, but how about when they're all on the playground and people are parking in the parking lot?
Yes,
There's
same.
access to drive on there?
Yes,
Should-
inside and outside the school. Thank you for that
Shouldn't we
clarification.
have this motion first and then discuss?
Yes.
I would like to make a motion that the Village of Vernon use the Big Bend Elementary School as a voting site for the February 21st primary election and April 4th general election with the conditions listed.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion?
I like the idea of our residents, our taxpayers, our MASD residents using our schools. It's an awesome experience for the taxpayers and the kids, I think. I think it's good.
What about, I don't know whether it's the police or somebody helping, like, especially during drop-off and pickup with that traffic. I mean, that's a lot of kids crossing streets and stuff like that too. So it's not just inside, but to your point, playground and then during that drop-off and pickup time.
So we have a motion and a second on the table. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Me.
Motion carries 8-1. All right, and then universal screener proposal.
So as you see in my memo, we have asked that we delay this vote, but we understand that there may be some discussion. So Christine is here to answer any questions, address any concerns.
So if you have any questions or concerns about what was proposed at Learning Committee, although, is this being delayed because changes are being made before it's coming back, or what is the purpose behind the delay?
So I also asked for it to be delayed. After student learning, I felt like Dale and Vito and I think there were 6 of you guys there that night, brought up some really valid points that we should take a closer look at, including, right now we have 4 of the 8 people on the committee are Gen Ed, but we could still seek feedback from a larger audience with regards to how mental health concerns are impacting our academics in the classroom. And so I think that putting off action for right now allows the team to get a better idea from our teachers what kind of supports they need.
And note that we did leave it on as an action item. So if the board feels strongly that we should move forward, or if the board feels strongly that you want to vote now, that's an option also. So it's in your hands.
I would like to see more discussion on it. That's my opinion. Anybody else?
Do we need to make
So,
a motion for that?
To table it,
Table it?
I would like to make a motion we table.
Okay, so I would like for you to clarify. You just want it tabled, or give me something more specific? I'd like to see this come back to
Unt-
Learning Committee at a certain
Yes,
point.
send it back to the learning committee.
Well, Sean said we don't have to do anything.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, you can't, you,
it's going to be on. the
so
agenda.
you don't have to act upon it, but if you want to give us more direction, that is always welcome. And so I'm hearing Art make a motion going back to Learning Committee. And
So
next
discussion?
month, for further discussion,
Somebody has a second. I'm not going to second it, but do we need a second in order to keep talking about it? Because I want to talk about stuff.
I think,
We don't have,
Because nobody seconds it, then we
I
just,
think the motion that is necessary is if we were to approve it. If we're not moving forward and approving it, your opportunity now to make a
Right.
comment or speak on it for Christine, so we can give them feedback of what we would like to see if we're asking for it to come to Learning Committee again. That's kind of the directives
Okay.
that I think we're giving.
I think that we should stop everything with this. I think, as was talked about in the Learning Committee, I just think it's a waste of the teachers' time. I think it's a waste of our school's time to move forward with this for the fact of, and like Deborah had mentioned with her thing, they're teachers. I think it's a waste of their time to move forward with this. I think it's a waste of our counselors' time to spend planning on this.
I think it's a waste of the taxpayer dollars that we're talking about the fact that we're already understaffed with counselors and they're already completely overbooked and there's all this mental health need, but we're just wasting time with all of it. I just think it's a huge waste of time. I think if there's kids that have this significant need, as this very general screening is showing, a teacher already knows if a kid is, emotionally acting out or, acting up in class. They're already going to be referring them. So I think it's just a huge waste of time to move forward.
So I think I'm hearing you say you don't
I would
even
like to
need
make
it
a
to go
motion
back
that
to
it doesn't
learning
need to come
committee.
back to learning committee. I think we stop what we're doing right now and focus on educating our children.
I'll second that motion.
So that's not actually, that's not what's on the agenda, so we don't have to make a motion. The only motion that if we were gonna make tonight would be if we wanted to go ahead and approve the universal screener that was presented in learning committee. So I think we're just looking for a consensus and directive if we want this kicked back to learning committee for further discussion, or if we don't want it to even go that far. I'm hearing from Carolyn, I believe she's saying she doesn't even need to see it there, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
But Art has a motion on the table, right?
No one.
Send it back to learning.
Right.
Correct, but what I'm saying is that I don't believe that that motion is valid, because that's not what
It's an action
the memo
item.
would be.
We're
The,
doing
the action item would be no action or approve the universal screener.
I make a motion that we do not approve the universal screener and we take no action on it.
So we don't need a motion to take no action.
Yeah.
So I simply need to know if we want to approve this as is tonight, send it back to learning committee, or not even that.
Don't,
Not
I
even
think
that?
I think she's.
So
on-
I have one person that says not even that. So who
no,
else?
I think she's on the right page. If she's putting on, like, it's not that the only vote isn't that we approve it. The vote is, do we approve it? And if she's putting up something that we don't, that would be the motion. And then by us, if everybody says, or a majority says aye, then she's done? Am I right in this?
So procedurally, what I believe needs to happen, and Sean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, if someone wants to make a motion to approve it, because that's what's on the action item, they can make that motion. If they get a second, we'll vote. And then at that point, the vote has to fail for it to be done.
Okay.
So I think in this situation, the learning committee forwarded it to the full board, not for approval, but for
More discussion.
So it's on the agenda as universal screener proposal. So I think technically you could have a motion to say that we do not continue with the universal screener proposal. Because again, you guys didn't forward it as a motion saying
Correct.
that to approve the program. So I think it is a little more open than usual.
So I'm good.
So I think that.
What I don't feel like we have right now is a consensus. So I guess I need to hear, I've heard from Carolyn that she doesn't feel the need for it to continue forward at all.
And then Dale
Dale
seconded.
And then Art had said for it to go back to learning committee.
So I would have discussion on Carolyn's motion, Dale's second, and then call for a vote on that.
Yeah, I'm a no. I'm a no.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table that it just stops, no more further discussion, and we have a second. Any other further conversation or discussion on this?
Okay. So the discussion then is, do we want to get all the information about how this could benefit us or not benefit us? And it's not that we're going to do it or not do it. I just so I have it right. This is not saying we're going to do it or not do it. It's just we don't even want any more information on it. Is that what you're saying? Is we don't want to study what if this particular tool could help us help kids. Am I understanding that? Because so if that's what I'm understanding correct, I disagree with just wiping it out. I understand that. I think that there have even this evening been some situations where possibly some screenings may have helped someone. And so I think that we should get all the information that we can before we make our decision. So to have, because administration believes strongly that possibly this could help our district. So I think that we should give them the latitude to go back and show us how it could. And if we get to a place where we don't feel that it is a waste of time, that it's not going to do what we think that they think it's going to do, then we say we don't want this anymore. But I don't think we should just shut it down. I think we need to get all the information before we say no. That's, I guess that's.
I think continuing is a waste of time for it. I sat through the student learning committee meeting and listened to both sides and, you know, thought about this. I can't see how a teacher going through these 15 questions, sorry, I'll open it up, or 19 questions. Being a teacher myself, I mean, this is so general. If there's any bug, teachers should know their students enough to have this high level information. They're referring these children over. And if there's not, and there's some huge miss, I don't see it. Being a former teacher, there's not one student that went through my class where I missed on either referring them or not referring them for these very basic things.
How much time and effort are you putting into this one program?
To just looking at this tool?
Yes.
So there's a committee of us that are K-12, so it has some middle school administration. Luke Spielman is on it. We have some third grade, high school, middle school teachers on it from all different content areas. So, I mean, on average, we go, we're part of like a Wisconsin consortium, so to speak, academy looking at mental health. So there were, if you recall back in like August or September when I did my last strategic board update, we talked about there being two particular areas that came up as something that we could potentially act on and something that was flagged as a potential need in our district. One was staff wellness, looking at like staff well-being, and the other one was a universal screener to be able to look if they're with a broad sweep of, I guess for lack of a better word, of the needs of our system. And so we have spent we go 3 times for one day, and then otherwise we meet 2 hours a month. So it's not like a.
So how many people?
8.
So 8 people for 3 days, going and looking into it, and then a couple hours sporadically.
Yep.
So the question would be, do we want them to focus their time, more time on this and put more effort into that, or potentially look into creating a better staff environment?
Well,
it would be staffing. There's other options like resource mapping. So like when we talk about like what we do have in place, we could talk about creating a map where like if this is say it's a AODA issue or it is a specific, at-risk behavior, then we can talk about like where do we see the problem and where are the resources? Like how does all of that align? That could be another opportunity for us to map out. It would be a good step in the future.
Are you talking about the current one or the other potential one that you were just describing?
Or all.
They talk about more than just this test. So coming out of these meetings, these 3 days, 8 people meetings, they're trying to come up with a plan. This particular universal screening is part of that plan. So it isn't like they've spent all that time just on this one resource. They've spent it on many resources. And so the question is, if you don't feel that this resource is serving the purpose, that is there another resource that
the team would refocus our efforts, right? So if it doesn't move forward, then we would refocus on a different
solution.
Venue, a different solution.
A different area in general, in total. So it's, I think what Carolyn's getting at is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that she would rather them focus their energies. She feels like there's a better use of their time instead of doing this particular thing. They could be more effective in some other way, I think is what I'm hearing.
So I think I can speak for Learning Committee in that we sent it for more discussion because I don't think we felt like maybe we had all the information. We weren't ready to move a proposal forward. So I am still not prepared to just kill it because I still don't believe that all of the information that would be necessary for me to be like, something else. And I'm not putting my eggs in this basket per se. I'm asking for the information to make an informed decision. So I guess I would tend to, even though not necessarily disagreeing with the content and the purpose behind what you're saying, but the process. I would prefer to say, sorry, yes, this is your job, please put in the time and give me the options and the potential positives, negatives, which I feel like we didn't necessarily have the full picture. So I would like to see the full picture before making the decision myself.
That's a vote.
What's that?
That's a vote.
Any other comments or questions?
Yes. I was just concerned about like the highly subjective nature of the thing, of the survey. And I think a lot of it is, it's a lot of implying, like arguing, being reserved, worrying, or enjoying being alone are bad things. It's that being liked by others or getting good grades or going along are preferred behaviors. I think this is creating a social framework of good and bad that is not good for our children. And I think that's a lot of subjectiveness coming from a teacher. And I think there can be a lot of mistakes doing that as well, because they are not trained professionals in that area.
So Dale, I just want to clarify. So are you then, do you want the team to continue looking at options or no?
I'm gonna say no.
No options
No.
for mental health, sort of any sort of assessment
Yes, for
or
teachers
help.
assessing and putting it on their permanent record, I am not for that.
Could either of you speak to this idea of permanent record and what, because I've heard that a few times from constituents, Dale, like, I mean, we have report cards. So, and sometimes you get those comments on there like, talks too much in class. Like, is that what we're talking about here with permanent record? Like, what is available? Could you clarify that for us?
So I believe our students are protected under our board policy of student rights and privacy. So it doesn't become like it's not on their permanent record like a driver's license or something, like it's an internal measure. So similar to like the A reading or A math that students take, that isn't something that goes along with your child. It's kept in our internal database, similar to like our Infinite Campus. So we have reports inside of Infinite Campus that wouldn't go, if you go to get your driver's license, if you go to get a job, those internal records in our system don't
They're not on there.
they're not automatically onboarded with everything else that you're supposed
Yeah, I guess I'm not quite sure where the permanent record piece is coming
I'm
from.
not sure either.
That's not true.
Right, but may I ask, are these, like, is the information from these surveys going to be passed on to potential, like, teachers in the future? Like, for example, if a 7th grader takes this, will all of their 8th grade teachers get to see the results from them and their teachers, or will that information be confidential?
So that would be up to us to determine how we would want to use that information. So I think that is part of the piece of like, we need to have more discussion about what the landscape would look like. So if we do one data point, right, like it's not going to give us a lot.
Yeah.
But over time, we have all of these resources in place. And Vito asked a great question. Like we have a rise in mental health needs. We have more supports in place. How do we know if they're working or not? And that's a fair question to ask. And so a universal screener would allow us to make sure that we're seeing some growth. It allows us to take like a I don't know how to say this, like a distant lens on it.
It's like a macro.
Over time.
Yeah, no, I understand
Yeah.
that. My question is more just, will it be the case that when entering the classrooms on their first day of a school year, a teacher will be able to look at the results and like make judgments about a student before they
No.
ever get to meet them?
No.
Okay.
No different than what they would be able to see in Infinite Campus right now.
Okay.
Actually less, to be honest. So,
Okay. Thank you.
Christine,
it's a fair question.
Do the parents need to be know more about this maybe? Is this a parent thing? Do you think the parents need to be opt in, opt out? I mean, I think we
So
should
there was
talk
an
about
opt-out piece. I think if I could just pause for a second and just talk about some of the why. So we do have students who are currently, like students we miss. So you would think, and Carolyn, I would agree with you, having been an educator for a really long time, when you're in your classroom for a full year, whether you're a high school level and you have 125 kids filtering in and out of your classroom, or if you're an elementary teacher and you have 30 students all the time in your classroom, you do get to know your students very well. What I think we miss, and what I've seen over the course of time in our system, is that our students who are performing very well, they might be your straight A students, it might be students who have a lot of clubs or participation in a lot of variety of different areas, are also our kids who are really struggling. And we're missing them because they're not our behavioral kids who are acting out. They're not the kids that are being sent to the office all the time. They're like your honor students who are really struggling, and we're maybe not catching them. So it is one data point or 2 data points a year. So Vito, I know you had said, I'm just gonna reference back to the Student Learning Committee discussion. You said, well, what if a student has a bad day? Like, what if your 3rd grader doesn't get their chocolate chip cookie for snack or something like that, right? Like we talked about, like, so what good would this screener do? So in that particular situation, maybe it would just warrant like a counselor or somebody saying, hey, like, how you doing today? Maybe it's as simple as like a check-in. Like, it wouldn't have to, it's not a, it's a check-in, if I could, like, it's a tool.
Shouldn't that be a call to the parents?
Honestly, Dale, it probably would be, for sure. Absolutely. So if anything else, we don't want to do anything that isn't partnering with parents. And so if that's a misconception that's out there, then I'd like the team to have an opportunity to talk about that and discuss that and come back to you. If you don't want it to move forward, obviously that's your decision. But other districts around us actually use it solely as a tool to communicate with parents, where it doesn't necessarily, it goes internal, but the results are straight to a parent so that there's conversation about what can we do to best support your child. So it's not seen as like a butting of the heads, but a joining of hands, I guess.
And we can't do that without doing these surveys and tracking.
Well, we always do that, right? Like, so if a student is struggling in school, we would do that anyway. This is really meant to make sure that we're catching all students, because it's all of our students who struggle at times, right? We all struggle at times. So if we have a student who's not, maybe this is not on our radar, that we would be able to make sure that we are intervening early, and we also know what they're really good at doing and what their strengths are, and to be able to leverage those things.
Right.
On the flip side, like, students who are really strong could also be great leaders, right? Like, we have students who come in all the time from other buildings or other districts where we assign like a mentor or a buddy. So it also capitalizes on the strengths of some of our students too.
Okay. Hey, I have a question. If I may.
I'm not used to, like, where's the voice coming
from? Just to like clarify what's going on, this isn't like a gotcha of any kind. I genuinely just want to know. So this survey will be used, from what I'm understanding from you, to gather data, like macro level data, to understand the general needs of the district, and also just get a good idea of the landscape.
Correct.
And
so
then at the same time, it will be used at like an individual scale, like reaching out to parents, and possibly, as you said, I think I have an alarm going off right now. Reaching, like you said, reaching out to parents, but also finding students who have strengths in these areas. Would I be correct in saying that?
correct, and it's a triangulation of data. So it wouldn't be used as just a sole point. We'd be looking at attendance records or discipline records or teacher feedback or, a number of things. We never really use a data point by itself.
Okay, but yeah, I was just saying, like, it's used for both, like a big scale and also on the small scale. Okay, sorry, I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Any other comments, discussion? Do we understand the motion on the table? So the motion and the second that are on the table would mean that if voted yes for, it would tell Christine and her team to stop any sort of work or discussion on a universal screener. If you were to vote no on, make sure I'm getting this right,
Yeah,
you guys.
you're right.
If you were to vote no on this, it would mean that you would want more information and give them permission to continue on to present additional information on the possibility. It's not a vote yes for it, it's a vote for telling them to go get more information. So we're good? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Let's do this by a show of hands, I think.
Okay.
So all those in favor, show your hands. Steve, are you here?
I'm here.
Are you raising a hand?
I am not raising a
You're
hand.
not raising a hand. Okay.
Negative, not
Okay,
raising a hand.
so hold tight then. Okay, so all those in favor of stopping any work on this, raise your hand. Okay, 4. All those in favor, no. All those opposed, saying yes, you can keep working on it, raise your hand.
I am now raising my hand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that is 5-4. Motion fails. You guys are making my point.
See you soon.
We want more information.
Some more information.
Yes.
So more information at Learning Committee, please. Okay. If anyone has more questions for you, please email Christine or Sean with your questions. Extension of St. James lease for SOAR 2023-24.
Aye.
All right, we had the opportunity to extend our lease at St. James Church for 1 more year under the same terms we currently have.
I would like to make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. We have a Connect consortium with Muskego Norway School District.
Okay, so we have a resolution there to enter into a Connect consortium with Muskego Norway. The whole point of this is to ultimately increase our own funding. So we get $1,100 per an industry recognized certification that our students achieve. WCTC takes about $500 of that in working in their consortium. By working directly with Muskego, we could keep all $1,100 per certificate. So this is really about keeping our money for ourselves.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the resolution to support the Connect Consortium with Muskego.
Oh, everybody's fighting for the second. All right,
Who's got
just pick somebody. I don't know. if
Craig.
Erica.
Greg.
Erica.
doesn't matter.
On.
Any other comments or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. And then our 2021-22 audit results approval.
So we're just simply looking for, the results have been brought forward to the Finance Committee. We're just looking for you to accept the audit as presented.
I make a
Make the
motion
motion.
to, go ahead, Jerry.
I heard you, Joel.
I make the motion to accept the audit.
Second.
There you go.
The audit was a thumbs up, right, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Unfinished business, superintendent report.
Yeah, 2 things real quickly. First, we probably will need a board work session in the month of February. We want to finalize our facility plan recommendation.
I think it should be in
Craig is cheering.
Snowmobiling.
May.
So
In
we really need to finalize our facility plan recommendation so we can go out and share it with the community. Because in March, April, and May, we're looking to have 4 community feedback, 4 community focus group meetings. And I think we have an idea of where we want to go with the middle school, the high school, but we need to finalize that elementary piece. So I don't anticipate that it's going to take a real long time, but I will email you and try to find a time when we can all meet. Maybe it's from 6 to 7 on the 4th Monday in February, which the date escapes me right now.
The 20th, Sean. No, the 27th.
The 27th, thanks, Greg.
That's before the full board?
Yep, so 6 to 7 p.m. possibly.
Yep.
So I'll email you with that.
Okay.
But again, we plan to have 4 community focus group sessions, and they would start in March, probably 1 in March, 2 in April, and 1 in May. And that will give you important feedback on how we move forward with a potential referendum. And then, as mentioned earlier, Wednesday is our 4K registration. As you know, we have 40 spots for our full-day 4K program. If we do have many more than 40 parents expressing interest for their son or daughter to attend full-day 4K, probably come back at next week, Monday, Learning Committee meeting, and discuss possibly adding a 3rd section of full-day 4K. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. So president report. I have the WASB training module number 2, the public records webinar that was pushed back from December. Did everybody get a chance to take a peek at it? This opportunity is really for any comment, anything you learned, any question that you might have regarding public records law. Anything you guys want to start with? Otherwise, I have a couple things. Couple reminders, and if you didn't know, every school district does have to have a records custodian who keeps track of all of our records, and that is Sean. So if you didn't know, when a public record comes in, he is the custodian of those records. However, we individually are each our own custodian of all of our own records. So that being said, if you get any email about any sort of school information that comes to a personal email, you need to make sure to forward that to your district email where it is stored on district servers. And then I myself, as the board president or whoever it is also then considered the records custodian just for board information policies and things like that as well. So just a reminder, texts, emails, written notes that happen in meetings are all considered part of public record law. So anything you write down can be looked at.
I thought in there it said about written notes, if they were to help you in the board meeting, that wasn't open records.
Right, because I think the example gave like Post-it notes to help you remember, right?
Correct.
Right, but there are other things in preparation and notes that you take on what has taken place. Those are part of public record, if I understand correctly.
And again, when we get an open records request that we're not confident in the answer and how to respond, we always check with our attorney. And so Dale, if you had some notes and you felt they were a reminder and someone else felt that no, they're important piece of public records, we'll check with our attorney and then they'll make that decision for us. So
I think some of the other important things that I saw was even just defining staff management planning documents, that those are things that can't be released. They are not public records. So that would be performance reviews and appraisals, that's raises, promotions, any eval, things like that. Anything that might be part of a current investigation, if there's any sort of employment discipline that needs to go on. If anything is current, that is not allowed in public record. You have to wait until the investigation is over to ask for that.
I have to go back to the notes, because many of us look at our little computers that we, and like when you're going to make a report, you'll write down, here I wrote down something that my brain won't remember. No one's going to even know. I mean, you throw this in the garbage can. I'm asking this question.
I wouldn't throw it in the garbage can. I would either give it to me or just store it in a file folder.
Right, because that is you being the custodian of your own public records.
If you get an email.
7 years?
Like you've
7 years.
Is that, I'm asking because I'm going to go through my basement and
Yeah.
I'm going to know.
Technically 7 years, so like this notebook that I've had for the last 2 years, I'm gonna have to keep.
But anything prior to 7 years you can throw away?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
If you do get an email that's sent to your personal email regarding board business, make sure you just save that and send it to your work email, and that way it will be saved. Once it's on your work email, then it's archived on the district server.
Can I delete my emails there? Will they be saved?
They'll be saved. Yes.
So I can
Your
hear my
emails on.
I have 1,200 emails here that I'm.
Yeah, you can.
Select all.
You don't file them into
can
neat
start to
little
clean those
folders
up.
on topics? You don't put them in like neat little folders on topics so you can reference back to them?
I didn't know you could do that.
Next webinar, how to archive emails. Okay. Any questions on public record law? Okay, so next, super exciting, next up, conflict of interest will be module number 3, and we will talk about it next month. So I hope you guys enjoyed our little educational moment. Did you have anything for legislation and correspondence?
I did not.
Okay, so
I have a report on the WASB delegate thing.
Okay.
So, Caroline, it went?
Nope.
No, it went?
No, Carolyn.
Oh, Carolyn, okay.
It's only when Neil Diamond's singing. And then I'm Sweet Caroline.
Yeah.
Otherwise.
Or mine is Cherry, whatever. So, anyways, it went until after 5:30.
Oh, wow.
And then so many people left that they lost quorum, and they couldn't even finish their agenda. And many people at that conference and in that assembly were very disenchanted with the WASB and their handling of that meeting. And I believe that there are some districts around that will be writing correspondence to them in an effort to improve that. Because as we go through, and it's like it's a joke to say who's going to go to that meeting, well, then it shouldn't be. That shouldn't be. So I am asking if this group would be willing to do something similar, because there were things that were how it was handled, parliamentary, that could be changed, that could improve that and bring more credibility to that meeting.
Agreed.
I'll sign that letter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See what you missed, Carolyn?
Thank you for going. Or, I know you guys are going anyway, but thank you for being there. There's
So
no way.
I will
Sorry,
try-
Cherry. I mean, I watched for a little while and I had to leave.
It was bad, right?
It was bad.
It was.
Yeah, let's write a letter.
And because we had talked about a while back, we had disassociated ourselves with the national, and so if the organization wants people to be, if they want the credibility, they need to listen to their members, and I think we're part of that.
So are you proposing a future discussion as to whether or not we remain members of WASB, or simply
No,
that
I just
we
think
address this particular issue?
Yeah, I would just like to send a letter.
You gonna pen that letter?
So we want to give that to Personnel Committee to do?
Well, I don't know who wants to verbally figure it out, but
You have the.
Sean.
you
I'll
have
bring
the-
it back. We'll bring it back. Can we discuss it and?
Well,
You have
we'll
the-
send it to Personnel.
You can't send it
Yeah.
to personnel.
But they don't know how to.
She's
they-
the only
I
one
know, Learning Committee, I'm kidding.
If I may,
Yes,
I can
please.
meet with Cherry and we can come up with a plan and develop that letter, and then we can take it to personnel.
Okay.
Or Learning, or wherever it is appropriate. But
It's probably,
Definitely not finance.
no, it's probably most appropriate for
The
personnel.
May meeting.
Craig, you had something?
The Make-A-Wish fundraiser is hot and heavy. I'm sure you're getting some text and emails from students. It's a big deal. Caden Stark started this a few years ago, and there's a FOMA event, Friends of Mukwonago Athletics, Saturday at Morningstar, if you want to join us for
I'll be there.
a Make-A-Wish fun party. Thank you.
Okay, so 4 times a year, we as a board have decided to open up the opportunity for citizens' comments on any topic that is not on the agenda. This month happens to be one of those months where we have a secondary option for citizens' comments at the end of the meeting. So I don't know if anyone didn't sign up before, but if you would like to make a citizen's comment, you're allowed 3 minutes on any topic that you would like to discuss. Come on down. We don't know anymore.
Thank you.
Well, I think that's a great topic and just,
Yeah.
right, no, I think it's a great suggestion for us to be able to address and talk about when this comes back to Learning Committee. Feel free to come to Learning Committee. Yes, and next time, we'd love to have you in the microphone so everyone watching the live stream can hear that as well.
Thank you.
So the suggestion being, how about an opt-in rather than an opt-out? Any other citizens that want to make a comment up here at the table at the microphone? Okay. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.